Brock Boeser kind of said probably done. And I wonder about their coach. What's the offseason? It's a little premature, but Vancouver, stuff happening.
Yeah. Oh, no, there's lots happening in Vancouver. There will be lots happening in Vancouver. It's going to be interesting to see what sort of market there is for Brock Boeser as a free agent. And there will be a market, right? Secondary scoring punch. I mean, as long as the price point is there, then there'll be a market for him. But I'll tell you, fellas, they couldn't draw flies for Brock Boeser at the trade deadline. I believe the LA Kings were the team that expressed at least some interest in giving up a second-round pick and then turned and gave Philadelphia a third for Kuzmenko.
Yeah.
Wow. So there's that. So I can appreciate Brock wanting to change his scenery. I mean, he's gone through some tough times in Vancouver. So what about the coach? And I'm going to be very interested to see and hear what Rick Tocchet says at his end of season media availability. Is he going to want to take some time? What I know is that Canucks ownership and management are wanting to extend him. They have the club option. So let's just look at the possibilities here. One, Rick Tocchet goes, you know what? I feel like we obviously have unfinished business here. And I do trust management. They are going to find a way to land a second line center, which is a priority. So I am going to, as long as the money and the term is there, and I think it would be, then I'm open to the idea of staying. Well, that would be scenario one for the Vancouver Canucks. Two would be, Tocchet just flat out says, I'm not signing. I mean, we can go into the club option. You can bring me back as a lame duck coach, but I'm not extending. So if you want to keep me away from other possibilities this offseason, that's well within your rights. I'm just being upfront and honest. I'm not signing. I'm not. And then the third, which is also plausible, is he's just brutally honest. And he goes, you know what? I mean, this man told me probably midpoint of the year, Tocchet that is, that this season to that point was his toughest year in hockey. Wow. Okay. So maybe he just says, I need to reset here. I'm not going to coach next season. Maybe he lands in a TV chair again for a year and just kind of recharges. And then at that point, I think maybe the Philadelphia stuff becomes more tangible for him. Because does he really want to go from Vancouver, assuming Vancouver cuts him loose, right into the fire of the Philadelphia Flyers, who, there's a ton of work for Danny Briere and Keith Jones to do before they come anywhere near to being a good team again, right? So those are the, oh, by the way, they've got a goaltender they got to look after, and Thatcher Demko. Now he's got 1 year left, right, before he becomes a free agent. So what do you do there? And I know that they've had preliminary conversations with the agent of Thatcher Demko, only to say, okay, well, you guys start thinking of some of your options. When July 1st rolls around, we'll bring our ideas and let's see if we can make something happen. What might that look like? I don't think the Vancouver Canucks are ready to say we'll give you an 8-year maximum at elite goaltending numbers. I don't think they're there yet, primarily because of the injury background. So what if they go to the Demko camp and say, well, you got a year left. We feel, we're more comfortable at the 3-year extension range. Demko might say, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'll roll the dice here. I'm telling you, I'm not going to sign, or I'm not making any decision until the end of next season. And then that puts the Canucks in a jam, and we start seriously looking at the trade speculation that is going to brew around the Vancouver Canucks and Thatcher Demko as soon as that offseason kicks in.
Okay, so I want to go back to Tocchet real quick. There's a scenario you haven't laid out, and I think the TV ties into it. Mm-hmm. I think that's a big thing. He's been on TNT, a really successful broadcast. He clearly has got great chemistry with Wayne and Biz. He's making 2 3/4. What if he says I'm worth 5? And they're like, well, we're not paying a head coach that.
Right.
I might want to return, but here's my number.
Yeah, maybe.
It's not realistic because you're starting to see some of these big U.S. markets really pay coaches a ton of money, and these huge revenue clubs saying, yeah, we'll give you 5-6 a year, no sweat. Whereas in some of these other markets, it's like, we're not really comfy going there. Is that going to start being a thing with coaches?
It could be. I mean, best case scenario for NHL coaches is, that's a thing. That would be tremendous for all of these guys. If it's about the money, then why would he opt for TV in the first place, even for a year? Because he'd make a fraction of that doing TV. $1 million is pretty good money, I think, for Rick Tocchet on the TV front, maybe a bit more than that. And I guess to your point, though, here is we don't know what the market truly is. Assuming Tocchet wants to coach, but he doesn't want to do it in Vancouver for a myriad of reasons, whatever those personal reasons are, what's going to happen in Boston, right? I mean, Joe Sacco probably isn't the answer there, right? So you wonder about that. What's going to happen in Pittsburgh? Mike Sullivan still has some term left on that contract, but there's a guy that could pop out. Like he could. And then all hell breaks loose because the expectation is that Peter Laviolette's going to get gonged by the New York Rangers, right? So, what do you do beyond that? Is Bradshaw really the answer for the Philadelphia Flyers or just the interim answer for the Flyers as he took the role when they fired John Tortorella? So there could be some intriguing possibilities where, Ryan, you get into that bigger number stratosphere, but I'm not convinced that the Vancouver Canucks aren't willing to pay Rick Tocchet. Maybe not $5 million, but somewhere in that vicinity, between upper threes, 4, maybe.
Yeah. I was going through last night just some of the, biggest upticks. We've heard a lot about the Capitals. They've got 10 more wins and how many more points? Senators, 12 more points at this point. The Habs have jumped up big. Boston, the Nashville Predators, it's 36. They're down 30. The Bruins are down 36 points from where they were a year ago. The Rangers and the Predators, 33. Predators had 18 more wins at this point a year ago. It's just, it's crazy. But for Boston and kind of for Philly, because what you put yourself in talk is, okay, well, Philly, I played there. I'm kind of a legend there. That'd be great. I feel like they're a long ways away.
They're young
from being,
Yeah.
I guess when I say in terms of coaching, like 3 years, 2 years, that's a long time. A coach could be hired and fired in there. Boston, same thing. The Rangers, maybe where are they going? These are high profile cities. These are major markets, but I don't know how appetizing the head coaching spots are aside from making big dough.
Yeah. Well, Tocchet would have learned a lot through his experiences here in Vancouver. And so he would, before taking anything, I'm sure. And again, let's not forget that the Vancouver Canucks own Rick Tocchet for another year in whatever way they want to pursue and nail that down. That's up to them. If I can't see them just flat out cutting him loose because he doesn't want to sign. Maybe it's possible, but why would you do that if you think he's the right coach? Yeah. Why would you? Yeah. You're allowing him to make the mega money. And you're certainly making a team better because Vancouver obviously believes in Rick Tocchet. So there's so many different ways that this could and potentially will play out. But if Rick Tocchet is a contender for the job of the New York Rangers, assuming they fire Lavi, he's going to look at Mika Zibanejad and go, didn't have a very good year. Is he getting better? He's got a full no move clause for the next 4 years. So chances are, he's going to be a tough move. And then you look at some of the other contracts. I think that he was a believer in how JT Miller approached the game, played the game when he was on top of his game. But you know what I'm saying? It's just, he's gone through a hell of a year in Vancouver. So I think he's going to be super selective what his next job is, whether it's coaching or outside.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.